All right, so I have just duplicated my little grid here with the gaps in it multiple times. So I have one piece with basically a repetition of the panel. So here's a panel, here's a panel, here's a panel. And I just I made one panel, I duplicated it, and then I did what's called a bridge under edit. Let's see, under edit mesh, and I did a bridge. And what that did is that it would connect the two edges that I selected with another piece in the middle, and then I went back and deleted the extra pieces. So these have a single edge in the center of them, and it just cleans things up a little bit. Now I'm working on this TV down here, so I am basically just kind of making this little panel at the bottom. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slats in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got some extras here that I don't need out of my duplication. So I'm gonna take them here, just take all those faces, and I'm gonna take them and I'm going to just delete those. And then I'm gonna just kind of keep the panel like this, and I'll extrude this edge out to create this other piece right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this edge, and I'm just going to extrude the edge out. Since I don't have a face, I can also extrude edges. So I've selected all of these like so, and then I want to go back and deselect these right here. So all I have is this single edge. You can see it highlighted right there. And then just like I would a face, I'm just going to extrude, uh, and I'm just going to extrude in the X, because I am working orthographically, even though I'm in a perspective view. I'm just going to pull this out a little bit. Now, all right, so I have the basic shape of what I want, which will basically just kind of go in this area right here. So I'm going to turn that off, and I'm going to hit F12 to go back to object mode here. And then I'm going to just kind of put this in place. And this will require some shaping that I haven't really done, and a little bit more modeling, because it is kind of square here, because it fits. I'm just kind of using the bottom of these edges as my guide to say, well, it fits kind of along this straight edge. So the whole thing really, I'm going to center the pivot on this. So I'm going to go to modify, center pivot, and that just snaps it back to the middle of that space of its geometry. And I'm going to put that, I'm going to go back, and then I'm just going to kind of line that up with that middle mark right there, just to kind of, and I'm not too particularly worried about this piece ultimately, because it's just kind of going to be there for effect. It's not going to be a critical piece in this composition, at least not initially. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this edge, just like I did the other one, and then deselect all of the, oops, deselect, and get a little closer here. Clean up my view, select these. It's a lot easier when you just do it orthographically, and then I'll extrude that out a little bit. I'm just going to do it straight in X, so I'll use my cyclical index. And I'm going to just kind of pull that out to the edge here a little bit. All right. Now it has a lot of edges. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to go to this. I'm going to try to do a quick just shape. Just want to shape it a little bit. I just kind of want to round these corners. I don't know if this is going to work, so I'm going to just try something. I'm going to use my soft selection tool. Just kind of reduce the value as much as I can. I'm still getting a lot. Maybe not there. Maybe I'll grab one up here. This has an awful lot of geometry to try to round, so I may not get the desired results that I want. So I'm just going to kind of just keep reducing those values down, and I might, oops, let me undo. I should have not left it like that. I'm going to go back. So there's just a little bit of experimentation here. And the different shapes. So I may not get the result that I want with this. Sometimes it takes just going to try some of these different shapes here. Okay. And this might be something I come back to later because I may not have time to kind of work that out, but I'll at least have the key parts. Again, this one isn't critical. Something like that. Or I could grab one in the middle. Oops. Notice how this curve drops it. So I may do something like that, or maybe I'll grab some more. Just get a little bit of a curve. I might do something like that. It doesn't have quite the effect that I would want, but it gives me a little bit of a curvature. And I'll just kind of round. Oops, might have to round that up. It's not perfect. It's not exactly what I'm looking for, but it gives me, and I don't really even know what that looks like. I'm assuming it looks like this. And so I'm going to just kind of leave it like that for now. Not particularly happy about it, but I will just try to modify this. Oops, modify this one down here a little bit, just around it, off a little bit more. But that kind of thing could take some time. And right now, I'm more worried about just getting all of the geometry in place. So I'd probably do the same kind of thing down here, or when I grab this section. I'm going to move this out away from my other objects because I'm getting too many things selected here. So something you don't want to necessarily be doing. So I'm going to turn this off for a second. I'm going to grab these and pull this in. And then maybe just grab some of them here in the middle. Another thing to do is to not have it all be one piece. And I'm going to go back and need to straighten this row back out. So sometimes you got to be aware of how you're affecting the other pieces of geometry. Like I was so focused on that corner that I wasn't paying attention to this edge. It's an unintended consequence there. I'm trying to grab this edge. So I'm going to undo that. That'll be a whole lot more work to try to fix that than it is. There's no real good shortcut to fix that curve. So I just damaged that by trying to pull this out. I got too much of that, so I need to reduce this down a little bit. And if I pull this out now, maybe even if I go down to 985, I may be able to grab these and get a little bit more of the effect that I want. Maybe not so much that, maybe just a little bit more. So that I'll have to work on a little bit. Not particularly happy with that, but I'm just going to put that in place for now. And another thing I could do is duplicate this side. If I liked this side, I could then split this, duplicate it, and do all kinds of stuff. So this might be something I come back to if I have more time. So I don't want, that's the one thing to try to decide is how much time do you have to worry about details on something that may or may not be particularly important in some cases. So this is not a huge deal. So I could just do this too. This is another attempt. So notice that I'm just trying different things. Sometimes I try something that might not work, and I try other things. So I don't give up, but I also have to budget my time and think about what I got to get done. I still got a lot of other things I've got to do. So in the end, you gotta accomplish what you gotta accomplish, and then sometimes I have to decide. There we go. So for now, I might just kind of leave that like there, and it may be good. So here's a little panel. It's not perfect to put some knobs in there. I'll come back and do that in a little bit because I can steal some knobs. So here is my, got this knob, got this, I've got some details to do up here and a few more details to do on the TV right here. But what I want to do is add a little bit more details to the room. So I'm going to get rid of this TV. I can get rid of that. This one and this one are my TV3, and then my panel, oops, this, and then my panel here. I'm going to control group that, and I'm going to call that TV3, and I went to this again. This is TV3 using my outliner little fly out here. So here's my TV3 group. Inside of that group, I have my TV3 frame. So here's my body. Here's my TV3 panel. Call it a grid panel. And then this is the TV3 screen frame. I'll call it a screen frame. And then it's all under my group. And then if I go into my shot, I'm not done with the TV yet, but I'm going to move on to, I'm going to scale this whole group down to try to get it a little bit more into that. And just to kind of see it in the scene, I will put this out. So it's just down here in the corner, and I'm going to kind of move it to where this piece of geometry is. So I want to make sure I have the whole group. Then I can get rid of this. I'm just going to hit Control H to hide it. And TV3 group, and then I'm going to move it where just roughly in that spot. I have my main TV here, and then I'm going to go into my double panel here. So over here are some side panels that I can choose, and then I'm going to go into my shot cam and kind of look at the scene now. And this TV is a little forward and a little bit covering up this other one, so I'm going to kind of move it something like that. So this has my little TV tray, TV stand here, 1, 2, 3. And now what I want to do is I'm gonna still need to frame in my, let's do my wireframe on this. Wireframe so you can see everything. So I still need to put in a little window, a hole here in the wall. and put in my window frame and my window panes. So my window panes here, and then some trim and an outlet. So that's not too bad. I think I'll just go ahead and knock in a couple of these things. So this is an outlet, and I'm going to bring that up to the easiest way to kind of model that would be to start with the plane. So I'm going to call this a plane. I'm going to call this outlet cover. And I'm going to go ahead and hide all of these. So this group, I'm going to select my object, put the up arrow for a group, TV3. I'm going to make a layer for it, call it TV3, TV3, geometry, GOM. It doesn't like to have the same words, so you can't name something the same. This layer can't be the same name as a piece of geometry. Then I can deselect, click off, and turn that off and on. I can turn off all of these. And they have this plane here. So this plane, I'm just going to make a simple outlet cover. I'm going to go back to my four views. I'm going to rotate that in X, 90. I'm going to reduce the number of plane divisions here. So this is too many. I don't need all that. I'm going to go in here, and another way to access this through your channel box is either go to your inputs, or I can go to my attribute editor, and I have sliders here that do the same kind of thing. And so I'm going to be making basically an outlet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of take these out, and I'm just going to rough in an outlet hole here, an outlet hole here, some edges. I'm not going to do too much. It's not, like I say, it's not critical. This mesh is way in the background. It just needs to look like the idea of an outlet cover. So I'm going to make it a little bit more like this. I'm going to go to I'm just going to do these really quick. Insert, I'm going to do my insert edge loop like I have been. And I'm just going to drop in my borders. So maybe along here and along here. I'm going to crisscross it about like so, about like so. So this can be my outlet hole, and then I have another one maybe down here. And ideally, you look at a reference for this. Right now, I'm just kind of doing it quick so you can kind of get the idea. And another, I could put in another one right here for the screw hole if I needed to. But basically, here is, I'm going to take this face, and I'm going to take this face, and I'm just going to extrude down one level in plane. I'm just going to extrude down a little bit. So this will be the face of it, just a hole. And I'm going to do it again up here, just a little bit. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of just delete that face. I'm just going to delete and delete. And then I just basically get this. I'm going to have these holes, and I can adjust the size as I need to on these edges. So I've got these edges here, and I can move them about, but that's, for the most part, I don't need to do too much. I'm just going to kind of move them around a little bit and maybe open them up a little bit. But again, they're going to be way down in the scene and nothing too major on that. Maybe make them a little wider. Make these a little wider. Make these a little wider. Was it? Oops. Just these. So I'm just kind of widening them up to taste. And then I have to put the round outlet in there. That just gives me basic shapes. Still keeps it round. And then we can put in our outlet plate there. So just kind of have them come out. So again, with that, I'll just start with a simple cube. And here I'm going to just subdivide it using these, and I'm going to go to my perspective view because I just want a subdivision along its depth and along its width. So I'm just going to increase this by 1 by 1 by 1 and by 1. And I'm just going to basically take, oops, not that. I don't want that open. Yeah, what I think I'll do is I'll just add a couple insert edge loops here just for real quick. And then I can just take these faces here and push those in. So I'll extrude those in. Just in a little bit. So I'll move them in just generically right like that. And then I'll take, so because this is going to want to smooth. So what I want to do is just take the vertices around the outer edges. Oops. Keep. Hold down Shift, drag and get them. Hold down Shift, drag and get them. Just looking to see if I have all of them. If I push these out and these up, it's kind of the idea. I can shape them a little bit. It's harder to do with the whole thing, so let me think. Sometimes I'm just going to try something. See how you can start to shape something like this? It's like a little pig nose. To kind of shape it by using that soft select idea. Because there's not very much geometry. Now these two I don't need to shape, but the outside, so that might be, it might be easier to just do it a little bit. Now there's sometimes getting rid of all of the rest of the geometry can help. So if I was to get rid of that and just work with a simple little shape like this. And then just kind of shape it the way that I want. So then I'm only dealing with these little bits. I'm gonna turn that off. So sometimes working with a whole great big thing hurts you because you can't really shape things the way you want. Now these, I don't want these shaped. I want these to be square. But the outside I want shaped. So sometimes it's okay to kind of do that So I really just want these edges. So I never want to work too much with too much geometry. Because then once I have this basic, once I have the basic shape that I want, I can actually just, I mean to have that selected. Seems to have a little, and work with the basic shape. I'm going to go into my front view because I only want to work orthographic, and all I really want to do is do some quick forming. So like grabbing some of these and grab some of this and just kind of get that outlet shape just by rounding it. So I don't always want to start with a real sharp object. And then what I can do is I have this edge and the edge around the hole here, double clicking on that. Then I can extrude that out. And I don't need to go but just a little bit. And then I have a little outlet, looks like a little pig nose, so I would put in an extra insert edge loop right here if I needed to. I mean, no one's ever going to see that, not in this picture. But that would hold the squareness of that edge a little bit more. So it's not too critical on this. Go around this edge. Don't want to add too much, not for this. But there we go. Just going to add a little bit more right there to pull those down. And then, so I don't always have to start with a cube. I can start with just a flat plane, just like I did with the other. So here's my little simple little outlet cover that can then, or it's not the outlet, the plug. And I can put that in my space there and put it against the wall. Now this is in the background, so it just needs to kind of be in the background. So just kind of has to look like it. So that's all I'm really going to do is put these two together. I bring in some of these, the center edge. So if I double click on this edge, I can kind of bring it down, shape it around that a little. There's always a little gap. And I can also add an inserted edge loop in this to give this a little bit more of a opening. So I can open this up a little bit to make it a little more round. So if I go into wireframe, I can take this point here, these 2 points, and just kind of lift them up a little bit to make more of a round hole. And I could do the same thing on the sides too. Oops. And then that gives it just more of a hole to kind of to cover that space. Just gives me a little more flexibility on how much width I can add to that opening and to this one. I can duplicate this. Object, Control D, move it down, and move these points in a little bit. Move that down. Oops. Move just this part up. And then do the same thing here. Same thing here. Bring in some of these. One of the things that I do a lot with these, oops, is I grab the edges and then I'll just do like a uniform scale in around it like that. And with the outlet has a little thickness too, so I have to go around the edges and around the inner edges. And notice I'm double clicking, so those edges are continuous. And then I'll extrude that in, just simply extrude that in Z. Then I have my little outlet cover. It's kind of generic. It's not too horrible. But in the end, it's going to be in the back, so I don't have to waste a lot of time on it. So I'm going to group that, Control G. Then I'm going to say modify. I'm going to center it. And this is going to be called my outlet. Oops, I don't need to capitalize all that. Then I can make that and I can move that into my scene. Bring up my background. I don't have to bring up everything, but I need to know where it's located. Of course, it's a and sometimes I just want to give the impression of an object. Sorry, not 80 degrees, 90 degrees in the room. I'm going to scale that down. If I have a little bit of detail, I'm going to frame that in so I can kind of see it. And I can put that in place where I had that marker. Take that out. I'm just going to hide it. I'm going to select my object, hit the up arrow, and then move it against the wall there. If I turn off my wireframe on everything, lift it out a little bit. There we go. I want to make sure it's touching the surface so it's not floating over the top. There we go. If I look at my shot cam perspective, I can see the details of that there. All right. Good. I still need to add knobs on there. Okay, very nice. So TV1 and my outlet. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a floor and then the window pane in the next video. Very good.